Hi guys, welcome to another Seasons in Garden video. Today I'm going to do some maintenance around the garden. Since the grass was pretty wet when I came into the garden, I decided to first tackle the branches that were left over from the green pruning of the trees. The leaves were now all dried up and the branches were ready to be mulched. So the first thing that I did was to plug in the mulcher just to check if the electricity in the garden is working, because we had some issues with the electricity this year and I wasn't sure if it's going to work or if it's not. And then I tried to find the bag for the mulcher, but since I couldn't find the original bag, I just found one that fit the machine and used that one instead. The other thing that I needed was some garbage bag to put in the leaves. I won't mulch the leaves from the pear tree because they had a lot of frost and some other diseases on them. So I will just put them in the bag and we will take them to the green waste. You could make a leaf mold out of these leaves, but the problem is that unless you can have a high enough temperature to kill off the diseases, this leaf mold won't be actually safe. So I opted to take these disease things to the green waste because they can process that much better. Now the process of mulching, because I am removing the leaves, is a pretty slow and tedious one, but Grumpy wasn't there to help me, so I had to do it on my own. It was a bit of an exercise, but it didn't hurt. And after some hour and a half, I was done with the branches. So the branches that I mulched were, like I said, from the pear tree and also from the cherry tree. For the cherry branches I did not remove the leaves, I just left the leaves. So the bags that were combined, I used to mulch the area where the mulch was needed, and there was one bag that had only cherry tree branches and leaves, and that one I took I put in the compost bin because those cherry branches and leaves were healthy. After I was done with mulching, I cleaned up the machine. The first thing that I do when I start cleaning up is to unplug the machine from the cable so that it's safe to clean, and then I tidy up the cable and cleaned up the machine itself. Usually there's like this central screw that gets all wind up into the bark. I mean, this was a budget machine, to be honest, and it's not super high quality, but it does the work that it needs to do. And there are some spare parts that we can buy, so it works pretty well, but it gets tangled up. Next, I needed to clean up the leaves, so I took the rakes. I wasn't sure which type of the rake I would use, but in the end I opted up for the standard rake that we use to clean the leaves. I have to admit I enjoyed picking up the leaves. It sort of reminds me that autumn is coming and there will be more leaves to pick, and I always like to jump in the leaves, so it was fun. When this was done, I proceeded with mowing the lawn. Now, since I have ADHD, me mowing the lawn means complete chaos. Unless I am absolutely 100% focused and constantly repeating to myself, focus, Eva, focus, 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 focus. It goes all over the place, so for all of you who get annoyed with my mowing of the lawn, please don't be mad. It's how I mow the lawn. Other people do it differently. When this first half of the lawn was done, I had a new part of the lawn that we seeded this year. Now some weeds were starting to grow in between the grass, so I first had to pull it out. But since the soil was pretty firm, I wasn't able to actually pull every weed with its roots, so a lot of them came back. But still, when they come back after you pull them the first time, they are much smaller and weaker, and they're more easier to pull out complete with the roots and all, so it's worth it. It may not seem so, but it's definitely worth it. Half of the weeds in our garden, and I literally mean half of the weeds, have thorns or are thorny in some sort of way and hurt me. And I also get a reaction when I get pricked by these weeds, so it's better to use stronger gloves, because all of these weeds, the thorns of these weeds actually go through the standard latex gloves that I used in some other videos, so when I'm weeding, I'm using rose gloves. This one came out pretty good. The entire root, it looks like a carrot. I know. Unfortunately not edible. The entire process took around 15 to 20 minutes. And after this area was weeded, I again took our little mower and I mowed this lawn. Now, I made a conscious choice in this case to be much more systematic and to constantly go up and down, up and down, up and down this lawn. Of course, not before I took a couple of my chaotic rounds. When that was done, I needed to pull the weeds, some more prickly stuff, to be honest, out of the flower borders. And this was before the last weeks of rain have happened, so the tomatoes are still looking sort of nice. But right now they're completely covered in blight, and we did manage to maybe eat like a couple of tomatoes. I think 10 is the exact number. And just for your information, I actually planted 30 plants. Out of 30 plants, 6 or 7 of them succeeded in producing tomatoes that we could eat. Everything else was destroyed by blight, because this year the weather's been just it was so weird and so rainy that they just did not stand a chance. It wasn't visible when I was mowing the grass. This lawn actually has edging on the sides, and I used scissors to cut some of the weeds like potentilla that go over the edge to the border and then root themselves into the border, so that I clean the edge and that I make it nice. You just aren't able to mow these weeds. When I was done with this border, I continued going around the garden and just pulling out weeds from other areas, and soon I was left with what we call a bucket of pain. And that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.